Welcome back to Beauty Boss Millionaire. I'm your host, Felicia Fracassi, and the objective of this episode is to really just focus on finances and leadership skills because they do go hand in hand.
Welcome back to the Beauty Boss Millionaire podcast with daily on-the-go episodes packed with testimonies and business tips to help you create financial freedom through entrepreneurship. Hosted by the owner of Fracassi Lashes and the Blow Dry Lounge, the Beauty Boss Millionaire herself, Felicia Fracassi.
And I'm going to just jump right into it. One thing that really helps is just simply staying on top of deadlines and monitoring spending in the business account. In my business account, I have a certain amount of money that I keep in the checking and I keep a certain amount in the savings. And it's really good that you get an account that has both, just so you can put aside that money for savings and the checking. And also you can kind of figure out what money goes for what. For example, when I save up for a new store, I always put a certain amount away in the savings account, specifically to open up another store. Also, don't forget about accounts receivables. If you do have a situation where you have to pay once you get the product or whatever it is, or if you pay a vendor, you owe the money later. It's so important that you don't forget about those. I do all my bills on the 20th of every month, so it's already paid by the 1st. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make that I really want to speak on is separating business finances and their personal finances. A lot of business owners are guilty of this. They mix their business and personal together and they can't figure out how much their business is really making profitable. One thing that you want to do is either give yourself a check for what you're making every week, or give yourself a quarterly check, or some kind of way. Make sure you are truly giving yourself money and you're spending from that money, not from, okay, the business made $1,000 this week and I'll spend some at Walmart on my nails, or I'll spend groceries out of that money and I'll get my car fixed out of that money. No, they should be totally separate. So your business account should be separate from your personal funds. The reason why it's hard for a lot of people is because that's where their money is coming in at. But yet there's another step that's needed to be taken, which is you need to be writing yourself a check, or yet giving yourself an allowance every week out of the money, because that is now your income. It's hard for a lot of people to adjust. And at first it was hard for me to adjust. I remember back in my days in New York City, my accountant really just said, hey, look, you're going to have to start separating the two. This is something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, is separating those two. So please make the extra effort to separate the business from the personal. Do not take the money out of the business for your personal gain, please. Also, it's important that you just time your purchases. If you know you're buying something every single month or every single week, just kind of monitor those so you're making those proper allocations. I know I do advertising every single month. My advertising bill, in combination with social media, the radio, Google, there's a certain amount that I'm putting aside every single month. So just make sure that you're creating that budget and managing the money. And also it's important to manage inventory. If you're a business where you have a lot of inventory, or even if you don't have a lot of inventory, just a little bit, you still need to be able to monitor. And what I do is I have like a little checklist. I know exactly how much of what I bought. And when I'm running low, I know to replenish that storage. One thing that really helps, Amazon actually has auto. They'll send it to you every month. If you know for a fact every single month you need one of this or two of this, you go ahead and put it on auto. If you're comfortable doing that. If you're not comfortable doing that, that's fine, but just make a to-do list where you're doing it every single month. Even down to the bills that you're paying, make sure your bills are paid on time so you're not incurring late fees and things that you could simply avoid. Another piece of advice that has really helped a lot of business owners is just simply go through all of your credit card statements, especially if you've been open for a little while, over a year. Go through a lot of your bills, your receivables, your accounts. Start seeing if you can cut costs. Because if you can cut some of these costs down, one year I went through my payroll and I was looking at how much I paid to my payroll company. And I'm like, we're paying a lot of money in payroll, but they have all these little hidden ways to take the money out so you never really see it. But I actually got a quote from another place and I compared and I said, look, here's what I'm paying now. Can you beat this? If you can beat this by half, I'll go with you. They were able to beat it by half. And so I switched to this different payroll company. I switched from Paychex to ADP because ADP was actually cheaper and they still provide the same exact service. So that was one of my victories. And not only was I able to switch one store, but I was able to switch all the stores. And on top of that, I was able to use myself as a referral for all the stores. So I was able to get free payroll for the entire year. So tell me how bomb that was, right? Pretty cool. Also, you need to find ways to increase revenue. One thing that entrepreneurs struggle with is figuring out how can they make more money. How can you make more money? That's the number one question everyone asks. If you know, for example, you are already doing one thing, you can always add on new things. Especially as the seasons change, it's important that you think about how you can really just increase that revenue. You can even increase revenue by offering discounts, promote products through email marketing or social media advertisements, or even adding new products to sell, and establishing a refer a friend loyalty program. That's one thing that we're huge on. I was in the store this weekend and a lady brought in the stamp card that we gave her. And literally the stamp card looked like it had been through the washer several times. It was all beat up. There was different signatures from different employees. And I looked through her file and it was all accurate. And it was so funny. She said, I have been waiting 1 year to use this. And I was just laughing because I was so happy that my little stamp card that I made over a year ago, she held on to for the whole year just to get her free lash. And it meant so much to me. And it meant so much to her too, because she saved herself $35, $40. But yet I gained a loyal client that constantly comes to me in hopes that they'll get their free stamp. So she wins, the customer wins, and you win. So don't forget about these loyalty programs because you want people to come just back to you. And a lot of times in business, you'll have people that are doing something similar to you. It happens. Don't even get mad about it. It's just life. If there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King, they're still in business, both of them. So try your best not to stress out about the other business and just try your best to make sure that client is loyal to you. The last thing I want to mention is just make sure you have a cash reserve. I am huge on this because I don't have anyone that I could go to and borrow money from. You know my story. I come from a family that did not have a lot. I don't have this whole billionaire family where I could say, hey, give me $1 million or even give me $2,000. It doesn't roll like that in my family. In life, just don't get upset about it. Because there's times where I actually got upset about these things. But instead, you just have to understand that God has created you to be the first person to start generational wealth in your family. And you have to have your own cash reserve. Putting money away in case something happens. You should have a small business cash reserve to help you manage money when you're in a pinch. You can start a cash reserve by opening up a savings account like I was saying earlier, and be sure to regularly deposit cash into that reserve. I constantly do this. Anytime we have a really good season where it's really busy, I don't go out and buy something. It's very tempting, but instead I said, you know what? We did really good this week. Let me put the excess that I made into my savings so that we can prepare to build the next store or the next operation or whatever it is that we may need, because sometimes you'll fall on hard times. We all were shown this through the pandemic. A lot of people didn't even have enough for 2 months worth of rent or a month worth of rent because they were busy struggling trying to make ends meet. And that's something that you don't want your business in a pinch, because some businesses closed throughout the pandemic that did not have a cash reserve. Honey, I was stacked. I'm not even going to get into it. I was stacked several ways. You don't ever got to worry about me not having money. I was stacked all kinds of ways that you would not expect. And I did that on purpose because I've learned at an early age that I can't depend on anyone. So I have to just always be prepared. Always make sure that your business has a cash reserve in place. Even if it's just for inventory or a check that's holding you over, you don't want to be that person caught out there with nothing. And this also goes for your daily life. You should always have a reserve set aside in case something pops off and you need to, get out of town, or you need to, I don't want to sound like on the run like Beyonce and Jay, but hey, to be honest, you never know what's going to pop off. I always make the joke. I heard Cardi B's man say, I got $1 million in the safe in case things don't go my way. And it's the truth. You never know what could happen. So always have yourself a reserve. And I hope this is really helping you out as we talk about business and leadership skills as we wrap up this last season of Beauty Boss Millionaire. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next season.
That's it for today. Tune in tomorrow for the Beauty Boss Millionaire podcast. And don't forget to follow the Beauty Boss Millionaire, Felicia Fracassi, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Beauty Boss Millionaire.